A Nazi rocket scientist once wrote a book about the Elon, a techno-ruler on Mars who would lead humanity's first colony, living underground in a society governed by engineers and intellectual elites. Decades later, that name belongs to Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, whose father, fascinated by that very book, named him after its leader. Now Musk is building rockets, digging tunnels, and shaping a future that looks disturbingly like the prophecy written in that book. Coincidence? Or the fulfillment of a vision born in one of history's darkest chapters? What if the richest man in the world wasn't shaped by the science fiction, but is the living embodiment of this prophecy? To make the parallel even more sinister, Elon Musk's maternal grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, an apartheid defender and vocal anti-Semite, was a leader in a radical movement called Technocracy Inc., which rejected democracy and called for a world ruled by scientists and engineers, where the so-called intellectual elite would decide the fate of society. Haldeman openly aligned himself with these ideas, traveling across Canada to preach a vision of centralized control, efficiency, and the complete elimination of elected governments. This was a vision disturbingly close to the ideologies sweeping Europe at the time. Now, decades later, these legacies are impossible to ignore. As his grandfather dreamed of a technocratic world, Musk is building it, piece by piece, through his companies, his influence, and his obsession with controlling humanity's next chapter. The question isn't just whether Musk is shaped by this history, but whether he's fulfilling it in ways even his grandfather couldn't have imagined. A man who once built weapons of terror for Adolf Hitler wrote a novel that foretold the rise of a powerful ruler, a leader of humanity's first colony on Mars, a leader called the Elon. Today, that name belongs to Elon Musk, the man determined to take humanity beyond the stars. He is hailed as a genius, a savior, a visionary. But what if his meteoric rise isn't just ambition or coincidence? What if it's something darker, a plan set in motion long before he was born? This story doesn't begin with Musk. It begins in the ruins of World War II, when the world's most brilliant and most dangerous minds were up for grabs. In the shadows of the Cold War, a sinister program was launched by the US government, one that would rewrite history while erasing the sins of those who had served some of humanity's darkest ambitions. It was called Operation Paperclip. Among them was Wernher von Braun, the crown jewel of Hitler's rocket program and the architect of the infamous V-2 rocket. The V-2 rocket was a terror machine, a missile designed to rain destruction on Allied cities, killing thousands and symbolizing the deadly reach of Nazi ingenuity. And the man behind it? Wernher von Braun, a man whose genius came at the cost of thousands of lives, including those of slave laborers who died building his rockets. Von Braun and his team were whisked away to the US, where they were given new lives, new identities, and new opportunities. The man who had once worked for Hitler now worked for NASA, spearheading the effort to put a man on the moon. Yet von Braun's genius wasn't limited to rockets. He was also a visionary, a man who dreamed of humanity escaping the confines of Earth. While working for the US, he wrote The Mars Project, a novel that laid out a detailed plan for colonizing Mars. But this was no ordinary science fiction. It was a blueprint, a chillingly detailed vision of a society on Mars. And at the center of that society, a leader known as the Elon, ruler whose authority was absolute, tasked with guiding humanity's survival on a hostile planet. The colony he governed was a technocracy, a society ruled not by politicians or the will of the people, but by scientists and engineers, those deemed intellectually superior. Now ask yourself, was this simply a work of fiction, or was it something more? A roadmap, a prophecy, a vision of a future shaped by those who believed that humanity could only survive under the rule of the elite. And if it was not a prophecy, then what does it mean that decades later, we now have a man named Elon, building tunnels, developing rockets, and dreaming of a Martian colony eerily similar to the one von Braun described? What does it mean that the man shaping our future may be walking the very path laid out by a Nazi scientist? A path of control and authority. The question isn't just where Elon Musk is taking us, it's whose vision he's following. The connections between von Braun's vision and Elon Musk's ventures are impossible to ignore. In the Mars Project, the surface of the planet, ravaged by extreme conditions, was deemed uninhabitable, forcing humanity to seek shelter beneath the ground, building a network of tunnels and habitats to ensure survival. Decades later, Elon Musk's Boring Company is doing exactly that, digging tunnels, creating underground transportation networks, and exploring the possibility of subterranean living. Musk's vision for Mars aligns almost perfectly with von Braun's fictional society. Von Braun's the Elon wasn't just a leader, he was the absolute ruler of a technocracy governed by engineers, scientists, and intellectual elites. Decisions weren't made democratically, but were dictated by logic, efficiency, and survival. Musk's own projects reflect this ideology. His companies aren't just businesses, they operate like microcosms of a technocratic society, where innovation and technical expertise take precedence over traditional structures. Consider the Hyperloop, Musk's ambitious vision of high-speed travel through vacuum-sealed underground tunnels. It's a concept that mirrors the transportation methods described in von Braun's Mars society, where underground transit was essential for survival. The parallels don't stop there. SpaceX, Musk's flagship company, is laying the groundwork for interplanetary colonization, directly echoing von Braun's detailed plans for humanity's expansion into space. Even Musk's insistence on making humanity multiplanetary feels like an extension of von Braun's prophecy. Von Braun's the Elon guided humanity into the stars, leading them to a new home beyond Earth. Musk has positioned himself in much the same way, a visionary leader, building the technology and infrastructure necessary to ensure humanity's survival on another planet. But these parallels aren't just eerie, they're deeply unsettling. Von Braun's society was designed to prioritize survival over individual rights, a system where the elite dictated the future. And Musk's ventures, while celebrated as innovative and groundbreaking, seem to be walking the same path, inching humanity closer to a world where power is concentrated in the hands of a few. Are we witnessing the birth of a new era of progress, or the realization of a technocratic dystopia that was dreamed up in the shadow of one of history's darkest regimes? But Musk's connection to this dystopian vision doesn't end with von Braun. His own family history is steeped in the ideals of technocracy. Musk's grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, led the Canadian branch of Technocracy Inc., a radical movement that rejected democracy and advocated for a society ruled by scientists and engineers. Technocracy Inc. aligned with pro-fascist sentiments of the time, believing that intellectual elites, not elected officials, should govern society. Did Haldeman's philosophy die with him, or does it live on in Musk's actions and rhetoric? Musk's companies operate like microcosms of technocratic rule, where centralized control and efficiency outweigh collaboration and transparency. Does his self-appointed title, Techno-King of Tesla, reflects a belief in the supremacy of intellect over traditional governance structures? But Musk's ambitions aren't confined to Mars. His influence on Earth is equally unsettling. Elon Musk's political influence stretches far beyond his companies, and his actions reveal a pattern that is as concerning as it is strategic. Musk's alignment with controversial figures and right-wing ideologies raises unsettling questions about the future he's helping to shape, and whose interests he's truly serving. Musk has made headlines for his outspoken criticism of regulations, governments, and institutions, often painting himself as a champion of free speech and individualism. But beneath this facade of libertarian values lies a deeper, more calculated alignment with far-right movements. In Europe, Musk has shown an alarming willingness to engage with far-right ideologies. While he claims to champion free speech, his statements and actions have indirectly amplified voices tied to nationalist and anti-immigration movements. With Starlink, Musk controls global internet infrastructure, using it to shape geopolitics in real time. His actions during the Ukraine conflict, where he suggested pulling Starlink's support, demonstrated the immense power he holds over international affairs. Tesla and SpaceX dominate critical industries, giving Musk leverage over governments and economies. And with his purchase of Twitter, now X, Musk has turned one of the world's largest social media platforms into a reflection of his own ideology. The irony is undeniable. Von Braun's vision of a technocratic ruler on Mars was born in the shadow of one of history's darkest regimes. It was a work of fiction, a reflection of his era's obsession with power and control. Yet today, Musk seems to be bringing that vision to life, turning a dystopian prophecy into a blueprint for humanity's future. The question isn't just whether Musk is fulfilling von Braun's prophecy, it's whether we've allowed ourselves to be swept along by it. We marvel at Musk's achievements and dream of the stars. Are we blind to the shadows they cast? Are we cheering for progress without questioning the cost? If we don't ask these questions now, will we one day find ourselves living in a world shaped not by democracy, but by the unchecked power of a single man? The connections are too stark to ignore. Musk's name, his actions, his family history, they all point to a troubling pattern. The future he is building may take humanity to Mars, but at what cost? Are we witnessing the birth of a brighter tomorrow, or the realization of a prophecy that should have been left in the past? The time to pay attention is now, before the answers are chosen for us.